A Banzai Run MPU and soundboard. Came with prototype ROMs in both the MPU and the soundboard, and I have the other ROMs over in the box for the client. I have updated those ROMs to the latest version from the Internet Pinball Database on the board. Replaced 2 caps in the sound section, 3 filter caps for the power at the top in green. There's 1 in the reset section. And I had to rebuild the reset section of this board, which is right here, and rebuilding it really on these days amounts to putting a modern reset generator in this location and then removing a few components, putting some jumpers in. I socketed and installed NVRAM. It had a 6116, but you can move jumper W5 to W6 and use a 6264. And there was a little bit of corrosion. I still need to put this switch back on, but it was from the solder flux for the CPU, or switch 2. So I removed it. I removed the 74 LS245 at this location, put a socket in there and put a new chip in there. The 245 was corroded and it could have been contributing to the issue. The 6821 at U41 was also corroded, so I removed it cleanly and put a socket in there and put a new chip in there. The client had glued a battery holder at this location, and so we don't need that anymore. I'm going to leave that tape on there that he put on there, but we've got NVRAM now, so we are good to go. One of the main problems turned out to be on the soundboard itself, so in addition to replacing the sound ROMs, the 6809 on the soundboard had failed, so I will send this back to the client also. So let's boot it and get it into test. And Banzai Run attempts to calibrate the elevator that drags the ball up to the back box playfield, I'll say. It's a fun game, something quite different. The feature lamps are scrolling like they tend to do in this mode. So let me get out of this. So that second you didn't hear when the soundboard wasn't fixed. Well, there isn't much that comes out of at least the soundboard during tests, and those 2 sounds were coming from the soundboard. The rest of the sounds come from the CPU. So let's get into display test. Once again, I have Victor's multi-system 9 through 11C display board tester here, and it's set to 2 alpha and then 2 numeric, as Banzai Run has. It's pretty cool. Lamp matrix is working. Single lamps. Nice. Oops. Yeah, I got over there in time to view all the coil tests. The first 8 coils are multiplexed, so you'll see a red LED, then the orange will light up and a green. Now we're on to the unmultiplexed coils. And the yellow LEDs are your special solenoids coils, which can be somewhat problematic sometimes because the switch will lock on in some versions of the games and roast the coil. Let's go to switch edges. Banzai Run reports all 64 switches. That was the diagonal of switches. If we had a lifter attached to it, we could test the lifter, but since we don't, we're going to have to skip past that. Let's get into adjustment 8 or 23 maybe. Yeah. Set it to free play. And then scroll through. And it's still going to try to calibrate the lifter, but everything is operating as it should. This coil must be either a flasher or a motor, I'm not sure. But here's a good view of what the LEDs do when the System 11 board is working correctly. And this is an 11B board. It doesn't have the sound section populated at all. And 11A would have just J15 unpopulated. And 11C takes all of the sound section out. So let's wait for this thing to finish calibrating, or not calibrating. Okay, so we're back to where we need to be. And I thank you so much for sending this. It was my pleasure returning this to fully functional operation.